Please join me in the invocation. God our Father, you see your children growing up in an unsteady and confusing world. Show them that your ways give more life than the ways of the world, and that following you is better than chasing after selfish goals. Help them to take failure not as a measure of their worth, but as a chance for a new start. Give them strength to hold their faith as these graduates begin a new chapter of their life, and to keep alive their joy in your creation. In your name we pray. Amen. Please be seated.
For those who don't know me, my name is Javier. Before continuing, I would like to say a few thanks. Thank you to my parents and my sister for always being by my side. Thank you to my teachers for helping me grow, both academically and personally. Dr. Lovelace, Mr. Weaver, Madam Spiller, Mr. Gaither, Mr. Irvin, Madam Graham, Ms. Maxwell, Dr. Smith, Ms. Hopping, Dr. Kaysen, Mr. and Mrs. Young, Mr. Walsh, and Mr. Larimore, thank you. As a member of Baylor's robotics team, I will never forget all those afternoons spent in the lab working on our robot. In the team, I think I'll mostly remember the super duper calm and open-minded conversations I had with my friend Michael Ching about how I was right and he was wrong. Quite frankly, the only reasonable explanation from seeing our coach, Dr. Lovelace, put up with all our fighting is that she's a literal angel. Thank you, Dr. Lovelace. I'll also remember the nerve-filled bus ride to the Robotics State Championship and the ride back, discussing how we can improve in the future. I have not felt more stress in my life than when we were at competition, with only 2 minutes before our next match, frantically using physics equations to figure out exactly how much I needed to compensate in the code for a last-minute motor swap. And it worked. Finally, thank you to all my friends who have helped me form a universe of memories that I will never forget. Let me now share perhaps the only piece of wisdom applicable to the whole class of 2023 that I can offer. 3 years ago, I found myself reading a book titled Feynman's Tips on Physics, as a nerd does. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about physics today. I think we have all done enough studying in the past 4 years. I would just like to read a small fragment from the preamble. At the time, in 1963, Feynman taught physics at Caltech, one of the most prestigious and selective STEM schools in the country, and told his students the following. We have tried to figure out a system of admission with all kinds of tests so that we get the best of the best. But we're still working on it because we found a very serious problem. No matter how carefully we select the students, no matter how patiently we make the analysis, when they get here something happens, it always turns out that approximately half of them are below average. This statement is as true today as it was 60 years ago. It seems like we have normalized the idea of being above average. We expect people to be above average, as if below average was a disease and not a mathematical inevitability. To clarify, I'm not just talking about academics. I know all of you are exceptional in at least one way, and I can say that with confidence because every single one of you I have met is. Perhaps it's a sport, musical talent, or something less quantifiable, like my friend Kevin Yu's ability to make anyone laugh. But when we get to college, we'll probably find that we are not number one anymore. Perhaps there's someone from Illinois who is better at your sport than you. Maybe you are no longer the fastest runner, the most eloquent speaker, most popular, or whatever metric you think defines you. You may well be below average in that metric. For example, those who know me know that I am pretty good at programming. Some say among the best in the school. But I know that where I'm going, that might no longer be the case. And I'll have to accept the mathematical inevitability that at a school filled with people that are good at programming, someone has to be below average, and that someone might be me. So, as we graduate and the majority of us head to college, I think we should try our very best to fight the nasty tricks our brains place on us. And remember, if you find yourself feeling like you're an imposter because everyone else is better than you, they are probably all thinking the same. But even if you are below average, it doesn't mean you don't deserve to be there. It just means math has struck once again. Thank you so much, class of 2023. It's been amazing. Good luck, and go Big Red.
Thank you, Marshall, for our invocation, and Javier for your remarks. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 130th Commencement Exercises, a ceremony honoring the 189 members of the class of 2023. You have traveled from near and far to celebrate today's momentous occasion with us. And as I look out among the audience, I see many members of the Baylor family, faculty, students, parents, alumni, relatives, and friends. And I am pleased to see that so many of you were able to join us. And I am grateful that you made the effort to be here with us today. Many more are watching through our live stream broadcast, and I appreciate you watching from afar as well. This ceremony is such a special time for our students, as it represents the completion of an important phase in the lives of these students. Yet, more importantly, it is about celebrating a new beginning, a commencement, celebrating what is to come. And while today's ceremony is primarily about honoring our graduates, we also have a tradition at our commencement of celebrating some of the members of our community who helped get these students to where they are this morning. It is our tradition to honor outgoing members of the faculty and staff who are retiring after having contributed 25 or more years of dedicated service to our beloved community. We have been able to honor some other valuable members of our community recently, but today we will honor 4 members of our team who are moving on to new adventures by retiring from Baylor after serving us for more than 25 years. In fact, the 4 retiring members of our community that we are honoring today represent a collective 123 years of dedicated service to Baylor. And Javier, I believe even Richard Feynman himself, were he alive today, would agree that that is above average. You can read more about each of our retirees as well as some of other members of our community who are moving on in the upcoming edition of the Baylor magazine. The first member of our community we are recognizing today is Abby Franklin, who is retiring after 32 years of service to the school. Years before she began her career working at Baylor, Abby Franklin was already a Red Raider at heart. Growing up in nearby Trenton, Georgia, Miss Franklin attended an all-girls school in Chattanooga at the time, but she was involved with Baylor as much as she could prior to our extremely intelligent decision to go co-ed. She actually stood on these very sidelines as a cheerleader in her high school years supporting the Red Raiders. And she remembers fondly being named homecoming queen and for cheering for our first state football championship back in 1973. Abby, I'm glad that we could complete the cycle for you this year. During her career at Baylor, she served her first 23 years in the admissions office, where she interacted with essentially every family that applied and enrolled from the early 90s to 2014, when she transitioned to her current role of supporting both the assistant head and the dean of faculty. Shaw Wilson said this of her: "Abby made all of us feel like Baylor is home, and we are so glad this is where she has called home for 32 years. Trenton is her physical home, and Charlotte, Sarah, and Mason, and now little granddaughter Freya, are her physical family and the most important people in her life. But Abby has always had a home and family here because it is the one she has helped build each and every day." Abby Franklin, please rise so that we can show our gratitude for all that you have done for Baylor School over the last 32 years. Our second retiring honoree this morning is Priscilla Birdsall. Priscilla came to Baylor in the fall of 1991 and is leaving us this year, having made a significantly positive impact on so many students in abundantly different areas of the school during her 32-year tenure. From teaching in both the upper and middle school, being a dorm parent, to coaching girls soccer, both as an assistant and as a head coach, as well as middle school dean of students, along with several other roles, Ms. Birdsall continues to find ways to hone her craft and improve her teaching. In fact, one would be hard-pressed to find a more thoughtful, child-centered educator than Priscilla Birdsall. She's a masterful teacher because of her constant desire to refresh her course and her clear ability to captivate students and channel their learning. But most importantly, because every single one of her students knows that she sees them, understands them, and wants them to succeed. As a colleague, Priscilla is not only a constant fountain of creation, but she is also pathologically generous. She loves nothing more than to share ideas and resources and to have them shared with her. Ms. Birdsall sets a high bar for behavior and achievement, and her students eagerly live up to her standards. In later grades, students often remark how well prepared they are to read complex material or write in-depth analyses, proclaiming, "Oh, this is easy. I had Ms. Birdsall." Priscilla and her husband, Grant, are Baylor parents of daughter Jessica, class of 2012. Priscilla, we wish you all the best as you retire and move to your beloved Cape Cod. Audience, please join me in recognizing the contributions of Priscilla Birdsall. Our third retiring honoree this morning is Grant Wood. It was the fall of 1991 when Grant Wood first arrived at Baylor to serve as a biology teacher, soccer coach, and dorm parent. Throughout his 32 years as a member of our faculty, Mr. Wood found numerous ways to enhance the experience of his students, particularly in the residential life community, and he even became our first ever Dean of Residential Life, where he helped remind all dorm parents that each student in our care is to be treated as our own child, our most valued possession. Grant also shared his passion for sailing with the Baylor family, offering his expertise as a captain and his connections in the Maine sailing world to Baylor students and faculty. I don't know that I've ever seen him happier than I saw him when I had the pleasure of spending 2 weeks on board the 176-foot, three-masted schooner, the Victory Chimes, in the summer of '96. There we were, 25 students and several faculty members studying marine biology, literature of the sea, navigational skills, sail training, and so much more. He was so passionate in sharing his love and knowledge of sailing and marine biology with us, and was a true pioneer of experiential learning. Personally, I can speak from experience in his attention to mentoring young faculty members, as he helped me tremendously, both in nurturing me as a beginning biology teacher and dorm parent. I am forever grateful. But above all else, the relationships that Grant has built with the over 2,000 Baylor students he's impacted over the years will be his legacy. So audience, please join me in recognizing Grant Wood's contributions of 32 years to Baylor School. Our fourth and final retiring honoree this morning is Jolie Anderson. Jolie Anderson was certainly not new to Baylor when she began working here 27 years ago. She had been an active, supportive, and passionate parent of alumni Andy and John, but she was ready for a new role at Baylor. We as a school decided we wanted to reimagine and formalize a community service role for Baylor students, and Jolie became our first full-time community service director. That year, she researched the area of the city with the greatest need and decided to start at the Harriet Tubman Federal Housing Site. She began on day one with 3 students in her car. 2 weeks later, we needed a van, and a month after that, we needed a bus. From that time until now, the program grew and grew to be a model program truly unrivaled anywhere. Jolie took students to homeless shelters all around the South and eventually to working in a children's home in Jamaica, now an endowed honor for students annually. None of this is surprising if you know Jolie, however. She is one of the most loving, giving, passionate, determined individuals with whom I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. And I am in awe of what she has created in her career and the number of lives she has significantly affected. Jolie, thank you for helping teach so many of us why service is so rewarding and important in this world. You have made the world a better place for so many and are a model for all of us. Please rise and let us recognize your contributions to so many of us here at Baylor. Jolie Anderson. I now ask Shaw Wilson, our assistant head, to come forward for our academic honors.
Good morning. My name is Shaw Wilson, and I am proud to serve as Baylor's assistant head of school. And it is my honor to present the Joe Kahn Guild Scholarship Award as well as the Reisman Valedictory Award this morning. The Joe Kahn Guild Scholarship Award, named for a member of the class of 1905 and a longtime Baylor board chair, is given annually to the student in the entire upper school with the highest grade point average for the school year. The recipient receives a check for $1,500 and a gold medallion in the form of the Pythagorean theorem. A runner-up award is given as well in the form of a check for $1,000. This year's runner-up, the student with the second highest GPA for this past school year, is a young man we've already heard from, senior Javier Nieto Garcia. The student with the student with the highest GPA this school year, and thus the recipient of this year's Joe Kahn Guild Award, is also a member of the class of 2023, Claire Holtz-Claw. I've asked Claire to remain on stage because the Reisman Valedictory Award, given in honor of Dr. Edward E. Reisman of the class of 1929, is annually given to the senior who achieves the highest grade point average over the course of the junior and senior years. The recipient receives a silver tray and a check for $500, and the recipient also presents the valedictory address, which we will now hear. So please join me in honoring the valedictorian for the class of 2023, Claire Holtz-Claw.
Hi, everyone. I want to start off today by saying thank you. Thank you to all the people who came today to celebrate this milestone with us. Thank you to the Baylor teachers and faculty that fostered our growth while we were here. And a special thank you to our parents. I recently read that parenthood is the ultimate pay-it-forward endeavor. You are good parents, not so your children will be loving enough to stay with you, but so they will be strong enough to leave you. So, you can take comfort and pride in knowing that we sit here in front of you prepared to move on to our next chapter. But mainly, thank you to the class of 2023 for being a source of inspiration, motivation, and collaboration. We have driven each other to achieve great things individually and supported each other to achieve great things collectively. But most importantly, I think we may go down in history as the most attractive class to graduate from Baylor. I was looking at some pictures from 6th grade, and let me tell you, we have aged well. All jokes aside, when I sat down to write this speech, I was stumped. For this, my last assignment of my high school career, my mind was blank. My brain was fried from the exhaustion of writing and rewriting dozens of college essays, speed reading for Mrs. Ott, and trying to understand Mr. Weaver's mind-blowing math tangents. My parents kept advising me to tell a story. And while I do have a few good stories about my classmates, some are just not appropriate on this occasion. But I did realize we have a collective story, the story of the class of 2023. It may have subplots and may even be one of those choose your ending books, but it shares a common setting in time and place and a common theme, one that will bind us forever. Our story is valuable because only by looking at our story and learning from our mistakes can we confidently close this chapter and move on to the next. So, while I may not weave a tale quite like Owen McDaniel, here's one version of our story, and it goes a little like this. The beginning, for most of us, opens in Barks Hall. We stumble through middle school in Danskos and Roshis, decorating lockers, making new friends, and experiencing the awkward middle school relationships that thrived at Nature's Classroom. However, this is just the beginning, so there is a lot of learning to be done. We learn from Rhett Johnson about the dangers of sun and hairspray. We learn from Mac McMahon about the importance of not arranging rap battles in the Student Center. And most importantly, from Mr. Lockrow, we learn how to think like a crow. Then we enter the middle of our story. Our cast list grows as new boarders and day students join us. We continue to learn and grow from our mistakes. Let's just say I don't think we will ever hold another student-assembled powder puff game in the wrestling room. We discover the perfect way to attach a flagpole to the back of a truck, and we gain important life lessons about conflict through rivalry in Coach Clark's daily uniform lectures. Now, we all know every good story needs a villain, and here comes ours in the form of COVID. We battle through distance learning, figuring out the best way to angle our iPads so that our teachers can't tell we're still in bed. But COVID teaches us important lessons about perseverance. We learn to actually appreciate school, and we come back closer than ever. Well, as close as possible while maintaining 6 feet of social distance in all classrooms. We then enter the conclusion of our story together. We have a few minor setbacks, but we survive them, just as we survived the crashing down decorations at junior year Sadie's and the collapsing floor at senior year homecoming. And at last, good triumphs over evil when our football team leads us to victory over Macaulay after 7 long years. Yeah. But honestly, it's that wait that made our senior year extra special. However, we're not done just yet, because in our final days, just like our anxious parents who are battering us with last-minute life lessons right before we move out, Baylor, realizing we've been spoiled by 7 years on this beautiful campus, throws 50-pound backpacks on us and tells us to hike 10 miles. Luckily, we've been in training since the 6th grade, hiking from weeks to academic. And while our senior walkabout was muddy and exhausting, it was also the perfect happy ending to our story. While this story is full of adventure, suspense, romance, and even a little heartache, it is still unfinished. Because what's great about this time in our lives right now is that our story cannot yet be told, because our story is just getting started. Right now, we only have a sliver of our story, a single chapter to what will become volumes. While we all have the pleasure of sharing this first chapter, the book of our lives is still being written, soon to take all different turns and directions. C.S. Lewis once said, "There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind." I know this is true for each and every one of us. We are leaving Baylor and moving forward toward remarkable things. But at least we can all move on with the comfort of knowing that years from now, we can all turn back to this chapter and reread together the story of the class of 2023. Thank you, and go Big Red.
Thank you, Claire. I completely agree and exceptionally excited to see what these next chapters have for you and your classmates. Good over evil, is that how you put it? That probably is the last time we had this many people on this side of the stadium. And I'm so happy that your class got to experience that, and we all did together. The past few weeks have offered numerous opportunities for us to applaud the accomplishments of the individuals in the class of 2023. And there are so many to celebrate. From the many academic exhibitions like the Science Symposium to the robotics competition, the World Championships, and the Global Symposium to many others, from all the amazingly impressive displays of our artistic abilities with art shows, choir, band, and orchestra concerts, the musical, and many more, to all the athletic competitions, even right up until Thursday night, where we got our 8th softball state championship in a row. And those are just the most recent of the impressive accomplishments of our graduates here this morning. Sitting on the track with us today is a class of extremely accomplished scholars, athletes, artists, and humanitarians. But what I love most about this class is how you support each other regardless of the outcome, whether that be a senior speech, a game, or a performance. Win or lose, you love each other. You put your arms around each other and you sing our alma mater. That is Baylor. We are Baylor. You proudly represent the values of faith, honor, excellence, and magnanimitas well. And our founder, John Roy Baylor, would be proud and quite frankly blown away at all the accomplishments that you've achieved during your time here. Today, however, is not about celebrating individuals. It is about celebrating the class as a whole. Today, you are united and will graduate as one. Class of 2023, today's ceremony marks the culmination of your Baylor experience as a student. And whether this journey has been 1, 2, 4, or 7 years with us, today is the last day you are a Baylor student. One thing is for sure, however, you have made a positive difference, and I am grateful for your contributions. As a class, you are now joining an amazingly accomplished group of individuals known as Baylor alumni. And shortly, you will sing our alma mater for the first time as an alumnus or alumna. You see, Baylor is a living, growing entity that is shaped by the collective individuals within our community. And I would like to thank you for all that you have done to leave your mark on the school and for enriching our collective experience. That positive interaction and leadership will inspire our younger learners for many years to come. And as you venture out of the Baylor gates into your future to the various college campuses around the world this summer and fall, I have no doubt that you have the academic preparation to be successful on the collegiate level. Your teachers sitting beside you today have made sure that this is true. You have been challenged over and over again, challenged with love and nurture, but challenged nonetheless, oftentimes beyond what you thought was possible in our classrooms, on our athletic fields, on the stage and beyond, on our campus, and many other expanded classrooms and wilderness settings around the world. In fact, we challenged you right up until the end, just like Claire said. And I trust that after our senior trip, you better understand the power of being uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone, and why we have done all that we have to prepare you for the path ahead. Trust me, you will understand more and more with each passing day and year, and college and life will be easier as a result. You have been challenged to truly think both critically and independently, and to use creativity and empathy to solve problems, a hallmark of a great education that will serve both you and all of us well as we rely on you for our future. And for this wonderful gift, graduates, before you leave today, take the opportunity to thank all of your teachers for all that they have done to help prepare you for the next step, and especially thank your parents for their support along the way and for giving you the privilege and opportunity, the gift of a Baylor education. No one will ever be able to take it from you. So class of 2023, I congratulate you and wish you all the best in everything in the years to come. May each of you use your education to define success and exert every effort to attain your goals. I hope that each of you will remain connected to each other and to Baylor as engaged members of the Alumni Association. And as alumni, come back here to a place I hope you feel is home and visit often. Make the effort to return for your reunions. Come back and sing our alma mater with pride. Be a volunteer and give back to the school that has given much to you. It is with dedicated alumni like you and the classes before and behind you that will help us continue the excellence that is Baylor. Life is about relationships, as you have heard and no doubt figured out along the way. Cherish the relationships you have formed at Baylor, the relationships you have formed with each other, and the relationships you have formed with your teachers. You each share a common bond that will remain with you forever. Thank you for all that you have done for the whole school. And now it is time for you to be given a symbol of completion of your hard work. And I am beyond excited to see what you will do with your knowledge in the coming years. I wish each of you Godspeed, and always remember, you are Baylor. We are Baylor. And as always, go Big Red. Now, based on the recommendation of the faculty and administration of Baylor and the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I declare that the members of the class of 2023 have successfully completed their course of study and fulfilled all the other requirements of a Baylor diploma. I ask Mr. Shaw Wilson to join me as we award diplomas and Mr. Garrison Connor and Mrs. Sharon Wang to call the class forward.